Hello. Welcome to this webinar. This is sponsored by Waymaker Digital, and our topic for today's session is the discipline of data lifecycle management. I want to especially welcome everyone to this Zoom session today, and also a special welcome to those joining us on the live stream on YouTube. A brief introduction about myself. My name is Victor Sonde. I'm the founder and lead consultant at Waymaker Digital. I am passionate about excellence in leadership. I'm passionate about digital innovation and also love to solve complex problems with simple, tested, and proven human-centric solutions. At Waymaker Digital, I am currently leading on software development, service design, user research, delivery of cloud services, enterprise, agile adoption, and you can check more of my work on my website, and that is www.victorsunday.com. The agenda for today is to kick off with data lifecycle management basics, and then we will talk about the goals of data lifecycle management. Then I will talk about why data lifecycle management is important for companies. Then take a little break where I will make some announcements about some of our upcoming career coaching programs and changes to some of our events coming up. And the second part of the session, I will cover off stages of data lifecycle management, which is actually very important. Then we summarize with the data life history phenomenon. I also hope to add a few tools around involved in the data lifecycle management. Then hopefully we can take some questions and answers. A little bit about Waymaker Digital. We provide project delivery, project management, digital business consulting, and of course training services. And our focus is to continue to enable our clients to consistently innovate, to thrive and meet their customer needs. Our services include software development, product design and road mapping, user research and UX design, service design and blueprinting, change management, digital marketing and campaign management, and of course, project delivery. So please get in touch about your requirements and somebody will be happy to speak with you. Some of our partners and some of the platforms we work with to deliver include Amazon Web Services, HubSpot. We are a Scrum Study authorized dedication provider. We are also in the Microsoft Partner Network, and we are a HM Government G-Cloud supplier. Today's session and the main objectives of this webinar is to ensure the participants of the webinar have a clear understanding of data lifecycle management, the benefits of it, and of course the phases involved in data lifecycle management. Participants should also be able to then apply this knowledge into real life business scenarios and use cases as the case may be. So let's dive into the session today. What do you think about when you hear that word data lifecycle management? Today's organizations are increasingly data-driven, so they rely on heavy data to run every aspect of their business, from acquiring customers to creating new products. Following the data-driven approach to business is one of the leading trends today. The continue ever-expanding volumes of data from many sources. In fact, we use the word data is the new gold, volumes of data from different sources like customers, financial transactions, marketing, campaigns, the cloud services, mobile apps, emails, text messages, social media feeds, Internet of Things, multiple devices, and so much more. And in order to be useful, all data must be managed throughout its life cycle, from the creation of that data all the way to the deletion of the data. And this can be really challenging if an organization does not have the correct or the purposeful or right implementation of a data lifecycle management in place. Data lifecycle management has been defined in so many ways, so it's often misunderstood, but we will examine just a few. As you can see on my screen here, I've got a definition from TechTarget and another one there from Gartner. Data lifecycle management is also can be confused with other data management systems, like especially with information lifecycle management. Yeah, but in simple terms, data lifecycle management is the process, the policies and procedures that of managing business data within an organization throughout its life, from creation through retirement. It is not a specific product, but a comprehensive approach to managing an organization's data. Data lifecycle management operates according to a policy-based system that manages the flow of information throughout its useful life across different applications, systems, databases, and even storage media. In order to understand data lifecycle management, think about it from the perspective of a movement of a single piece of data through the enterprise. For example, a piece of data is captured through a sales process, and then it is entered into a database. This new data will then be accessed or shared for other processing, reporting, analytics, or some other use. Or the data may even sit in the database and eventually become obsolete. The data may also even have logic or validations and all sorts applied to it during either process. But at some point, this data will come to the end of its own useful life, and it needs to be archived or purged or even deleted. Data lifecycle management is the process that pushes that data from one stage of that process in the lifecycle into the next stage. That's what data lifecycle management is. So if you think about it, so data lifecycle management is like a set of governing principles that defines and automates the stages of the useful life, and it also determines prioritization of data. So is the catalyst that pushes data from one stage to the next stage, from creation all the way to deletion. It deals with entire files of data, whilst information lifecycle management is more concerned with what is in the file. So data lifecycle management is not really concerned with the individual pieces of data within a given record, just with the record itself. So it's a system that is designed to answer the question of when should this information be deleted. On the other side, information lifecycle management seeks to ensure that every piece of data included in a record is accurate and up to date. So for the entire useful life of that record. In a way, the distinction between data lifecycle management and information lifecycle management is becoming more important, especially since the advent of the GDPR. So, for example, the right to be forgotten came into effect in May 2018, and this kind of regulation, customers can request that a company erase their information and provide proof that it has been removed. So information lifecycle management is the process that can locate an individual's customer personal data across an enterprise. So there are two sides of the same coin. That is, information lifecycle management and data lifecycle management are two sides of the same coin. But you can't have an effective information lifecycle management strategy without implementing a strong system for managing data, which is the data lifecycle management. Let's talk about the goals, the goals of data lifecycle management. The first one is data security, the security of data. With the massive volume of data out there and in use, the risk of data being misused is at an all-time high. So security of data is one of the key goals of why it's important for companies to implement a right or have a data lifecycle management program in place. The next one is data confidentiality. And of course, with data being the new currency in this digital world, its security and extremely crucial, as well as the confidentiality of the data, protecting the data from being accessed by unauthorized third-party users, as well as protecting the data against any malware or being corrupted. So data security and data confidentiality go together. The next one is the availability of the data. I mean, data is the driving force in this digital era. So it's only fair that data is made available whenever it is needed. If data is not available when needed, this can result in cascading failures of multiple processes that are depending on that data from the previous process. So the availability of data holds a very high priority in processing, and of course is a major goal in the data lifecycle management program. Okay. And the last one here is the integrity of data. So as recorded data is used on a day-to-day basis in operations, it is subject to multiple changes, edits, updates, revisions for every instance of the data that is in use. And also, with the growing popularity of implementation of data-centric technologies, like, for example, the cloud computing, Internet of Things, and etc., computing in multi-user environment has increased. Okay, so there are multiple instances of data created and is in use at the same time by multiple users accessing the same database. And this could lead to differences in versions and seen and saved by different people. So it is important and necessary for a data lifecycle management program to be able to maintain data integrity. That is, at all times, the same data should be visible to all users, and any iteration or changes or updates to that data must be judiciously reflected in all instances of the data that is being accessed by different people at the same time. So data integrity is another goal of a data lifecycle management program. Why is data lifecycle management important for organizations? Okay, data lifecycle makes sure that your organization's data lifecycle management makes sure your organization's data is accessible in the right place and at the right time, and it has 4 key benefits that I will explain briefly. Number 1 is compliance. Each industry has its own stipulations for data retention. So when you implement a sound data lifecycle strategy in your organization, it helps your business to ensure that they are compliant with laws and regulations for both local laws and international laws. For example, data management has become increasingly important as businesses face compliance regulations from, for example, the Sarbanes-Oxley Act, which regulates how organizations must deal with particular types of data. As a result, companies can mitigate the risk of non-compliance, citations, and penalties if they implement or by implementing an effective data lifecycle management program. The second benefit is governance. By making a repeatable and understandable data lifecycle management process, the organization begins to improve their governance in IT, and they are also benefiting employees. The third one is data protection, or we can say preventing data loss. A good data lifecycle management strategy will help to ensure that customer data is safeguarded, because data lifecycle management defines how data is processed, stored, and shared, and it can establish practices that prevent loss of data. As a result, companies can then make sure that the risk of data deletion or data loss or data breach is mitigated with an effective data lifecycle management program in place. And the last benefit of having an effective or a good data lifecycle management strategy in an organization is process improvement. With a good strategy, data is easily accessible, data is clean, and is usable. This means that processes can be more efficient and more easily automated across the organization. Okay? Now we're going to take a short break, and I'm going to make some announcements about our upcoming career coaching programs and some of our events. The first one here I'm going to talk about is, I mentioned this during the webinar last week, and that is the User Research Masterclass. Did you have to make choices on the basis of perception and hunches during your product design? Or or even worse, based on bad or improper research, you made a wrong decision? Did you perform costly focus groups that left you wondering, so what? Do you flood your clients with surveys which never seems to provide you with insights that you need? If you want to learn how to understand the best way to spend your time and money to get the most insight into your user design or UX plan, then you need to attend this program. This course is designed to teach you how to plan a research program, and doing a product research is important because doing it the right research and doing the research right are even more important. You will learn and practice techniques of user research, usability testing, ethics through research, refinement and ideation, prototyping, analysis, applying perspective and methods to ensure that a great user experience is achieved at every step. Now, when I introduced this program over the last webinar, we've received a lot of questions and a lot of inquiries, and I've attempted to try and summarize what the package looks like, what the participants of these programs, how the program will run, and what participants will take away from it. The program is tentatively slated to start off on the 14th of November 2020, which is next month, and it is a 3 Saturdays intensive coaching. So 3 weekends, basically, an average of 3 to 4 hours with breaks and practical activities. You have lifetime access to all the slides, the training materials, and coaching videos. You would have access to the online community where you can, discuss and ask questions and all that. Even during and after the coaching, you would have support towards your interview preparation, and you can also participate in a project work experience, a 3 months internship, unpaid, of course. Put a star there because it's golden opportunity to get your hands dirty if you want. It's optional, and of course, if you do that, you would have work references available to you on request. The other thing that we provide as an add-on is the one-to-one video mentoring sessions with instructors, which is paid separately, and we provide CV branding. So this is where we'll review your CV, they will write your CV for you, and they will also help you with to optimize your LinkedIn profile. Now, there are some questions. One of the questions people have asked is, we've gone on the website and we've seen the price as $199. Is that all that is? Yes, that is all that you need to pay. The things that you have to pay for separately, as you can see highlighted in yellow on my screen, are the one-to-one mentoring sessions if you need it. And then, of course, your CV branding and LinkedIn optimization, they are separate products that you need to pay for. I've also put some essential courses on the right, which is additional training content, because we noticed that when people come for this kind of program, you need some other skills to make sure that you're able to apply yourself. And we have put together a solid array of content that is optional subscription, up to you. Things like security awareness, onboarding training, key applications like Office 365, soft skills for IT professionals, emerging technologies, using Zoom, to conduct research. Now everybody works remotely. How to lead tech teams, management by strengths, ideas on how to start meetings, working from home training, leadership and sessions course, working in and lead in a virtual team. And of course, we have courses like OneNote, Outlook, Mail Merge, and Excel. So all of that is optional. And if you're interested in that, feel free to reach out and somebody will be able to help you. The next one is the Data Analyst Bootcamp. Now, the Data Analyst Bootcamp is an intensive education that is designed to equip intending students or participants with the skills required by industry employers, with a huge emphasis and focus on Power BI and Google Data Studio. So a university degree today is not the only way to get training in data analysis or data analytics. With the growing number of volume of data, skilled data analysts are needed to fill these gaps. Not even only in a day job, even in freelancing, you can start your career immediately at the end of this program, because this course will teach you predictive analytics in business environment, give you an edge in your career. It will give you an exposure and an in-depth coaching on how to use different toolkits like Google Data Studio and Power BI to turn data into informative and easy to read reports and dashboards. After this course, you will have the analytical mindset to be familiar with these tools and techniques. In terms of what is also involved and how the program will run, it's also kicking off on the 14th of November. 3 Saturdays as well, intensive coaching on Microsoft Power BI and Google Data Studio. It's an average of 5 to 6 hours with breaks and practical activities, access to videos as well as training materials. Now, one thing that is really important here to mention is you would have access to build your own portfolio with real data. So at the end of the program, you have access to the online community, and then students will have to go away and create a portfolio to be reviewed by the instructor and coaches in the community. This portfolio will help you to present yourself, because if you look at my screen, we also have what we call live showcase to potential clients. So once you build your portfolio, you get feedback on your portfolio is good enough, we will give you an opportunity to showcase your portfolio and your work, to do a demo of your work to potential clients who will potentially hire you on the spot. Okay, so don't take this for granted. And the same thing applies. Additional training content and is optional as well. Moving on, our upcoming webinars. So there's some changes to some of our upcoming webinars. The first one is exploring government digital service. This was scheduled to hold originally, it's scheduled to hold on the 24th, but now it is postponed, and we will come back to you with an update on the date for this webinar. We've received a lot of inquiries. A lot of people want to work in government. People want to work, especially in the UK, people want to work with government departments, because yes, there's a lot of opportunity to work with government departments. It's a great place to get the civil service is a great place to work, and we want to expose these opportunities by telling people about how the government digital service works. But the webinar is postponed, and we will confirm the date shortly. The other webinar, which is data visualization for effective business decisions. This webinar is targeted for people who want to understand how to use data visualization to advise businesses or product managers who want to understand how to make decisions or effective product decisions, service decisions based on data available to them. This webinar is for you. We will announce another date. Unfortunately, it has also been postponed. And I think that's all the updates. Yes, that's all the announcements on the webinar today. Let's get back into the session. Now, I'm going to talk about the stages of data lifecycle management. Stages of data lifecycle management. Now, and it's important that you pay attention here, because these the stages of data lifecycle management is not really, if you look at the flow, it's not like, there's not an arrow going from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4. It's just a line, because it is not necessarily like a flow of data in a way that it must go that from 1 all the way to 6. Actually, it can go from 1 and, go round and round between 2 and 3 before it comes to 6. But we'll talk about that in a second. The stages of data lifecycle management are it starts from data creation, then data storage, which is where we do maintenance of data. We synthesize the data. So data maintenance and data synthesis are both within that data storage. And of course, then we have number 3, data usage. Number 4, data sharing. Number 5, data archiving. And number 6, data destruction. Let's break it down one by one. Data creation. So all data is created somewhere. However, a large amount of data could get lost, because data may be created on personal drives. It may be written down but not saved. It may be encapsulated in, odd and unusual data types. Whatever the case may be, this data is important. So data creation exists in data lifecycle management to maximize correct data collection. Okay, so data creation is about the capturing of data and the acquisition of data. In your data lifecycle management strategy, you should define as an organization the data types that is being used across the business, as well as where they are used, what they are used for, who can use them. You also need to specify the types of files. It's common to specify as well the sensitivity to the data, because this is where governance begins to slot into in as data may be private, data may be sensitive, it may be restricted, or it may even be public data. This protects your organization's intellectual property as well as your customer relationships. Okay, so that's data creation, which consists of data capture and data acquisition, part of a data lifecycle management strategy. The next one is data storage. Data storage refers to implementing data redundancy and security strategies, as well as storing data in such a way that it cannot be accidentally altered. So this is something that you want to make sure that your data should be stored so that it has no single point of failure. Yeah, and data storage as well must be compliant as part of a strategy. When you are creating your data lifecycle management strategy as an organization, your policy, your strategy should make sure that your data storage must be compliant with contracts and local laws as well. Yeah, so that may mean that you can only store it on servers within your country, or only storing backups on encrypted drives. Okay, I've worked in organizations where we have to use some software, and because where the data of the cloud hosting of the application or the web app is, or the tool is hosted, is in a different country, and because of that, that goes against the data lifecycle management strategy of the organization, and that is the reason why they told us not to use the application or not to use the software. Okay, so you need to define, as part of your data storage phase, it's important to define your various data recovery plans. So if a failure occurs, you need to have a plan for continuing to access the data. That may be by using a temporary backup while you recover the drive, or you have another different type of strategy. But this is where you need to begin to tell the difference between data storage and data archiving. Okay, there are two separate things. If you notice in the data phase, in the data lifecycle management phases, data storage comes right after creation, and then data archiving just before data redundancy, data deletion. So data storage refers to active data. So you store active data. Data archiving is about inactive data. Within this phase as well, it's important that your users and your systems should be able to access the data quickly in their daily process or daily operations. It should be in live databases as well as the backups. If one of these has a failure, your strategy should minimize downtime as well. as an organization, you want to make sure that it's okay to have a delay when you're archiving. But when it talks about storage, delay it doesn't provide a useful experience for users and systems that's trying to access the data. Okay, now let's talk about data usage. Data lifecycle management policy or program should define who and what can use the data. If you set up phases 1, which is data creation, and then second phase, which is data storage correctly, then this data usage phase is relatively straightforward, because users and employees or systems or processes trying to access data, they will be accessing data based on roles. So they can use roles to map to the sensitivity of the data. So you can create sensitivity rules within your data lifecycle management policy. Okay, so this is very important, because you want to make sure that when people access the data, there is a right person with the right level of privilege based on their role within the organization that they are accessing the data. All right, so that's data usage. Moving on to the next one, and this is data sharing. Data is constantly being shared. That's a fact, and is something that no amount of restrictions will be able to stop. I mean, employees, users, customers, friends, executives, even board members will either share data in the platforms that they provided, or they do so by any other method. So data sharing is the most vulnerable point in an unmanaged or poorly managed data lifecycle process. The more people who share data via unofficial methods, the higher the risk that it is not compliant with governance and legal or policy regulations. So it is important to think of all your stakeholders as people. The harder you make it, the more likely they are to use their own methods. So a good platform, you need to select a good platform or a good solution that can ensure that your employees or users are able to share data. And also you need to educate them, educate them and notify them about the procedures to follow when they're sharing data. And this needs to be implemented as part of your policy. You should respect your users and their communication styles and methods and the sensitivity of the data. So you need to balance the needs of your users to share data across different systems, across different users, and also the sensitivity of that data when you're creating your policies or trying to select a solution that can help you to help your employees to share data easily and view data easily across the organization. So data sharing, again, I must repeat this is the most vulnerable point when there is a poorly managed data lifecycle management in place. The next one is data archiving. Okay, data archiving, I already mentioned some of them. I mentioned this during when I talked about data storage, which is the second phase, remember earlier. And data archiving is about storing data after the active life of that data. So users and your systems would not need the data on a day-to-day basis for operations anymore. So while you may want to access the data maybe for ad hoc or for reporting or analytics purposes, it is okay if it takes a while to get that data. Okay, so data should always be archived before it is destroyed. So data lifecycle management strategies must define when, where, and for how long you need to archive the data. And this will depend. It will vary depending on what the data is about. It may be something that even has some legal regulations like personal or research or medical data. Okay, so different archiving rules or or legalities apply to such data. Or it may even be internal or company document. Your strategy needs to define how you will deal with all types of data defined in the first phase when we talk about data collection and acquisition. Okay, so data archiving defines the security, okay, of the archive and how to access it. Now the next one is data destruction. And this is the final stage in the data lifecycle management. Okay, this phase, there are two sides to the coin. Number one, there needs to be a strategy for destroying active data from the second phase. That's still from data storage as well as archive data. Okay, and this needs to comply with internal governance policies, local or international laws. So basically, this means that it will depend on the specific type of and sensitivity of the data. Okay, so that's data destruction, which is the last and final stage in the data life management cycle. As we near the end, should we be saying data life history instead, or data life cycle management? Because I described this and I said earlier, life cycle is not really accurate because data does not reproduce itself or recycle itself. When we say life cycle, literally it's more like something that happens in real life cycles. So data is not like that. Data life history might be closer to the truth, but the truth is that it is not a familiar term. So life history is used to describe like phases of growth in an organism, like a butterfly. But again, data is different. So data life cycle might as well be used because it's familiar, and that is what people are used to. Before I wrap up, let's talk about some tools that might be involved in the data lifecycle management program or strategy. So I've put an image there from a Gartner report as of July 2020. Some leaders like IBM, Informatica, Oracle, some challengers like Microsoft, TIBCO, okay. We have Safe Software and a few other ones like that. If you look at the map, you see based on ability to execute and completeness of vision. But leaders are way in the top right corner there. Some other ones that I've listed here, just not exhaustive, but just a few ones. TIBCO is a leader there, as you can see. Is a challenger rather. Oracle is a leader. Microsoft, SSIS. Salesforce, SAP NetWeaver, IBM, Azure Data Factory is picking pace. You can see that's why Microsoft is there as an important challenger. Power BI, yes, this is used for data visualization. Google Data Studio, Google Analytics, and so on and so forth. Okay, and there we are. It's time to take some questions and answers.